sun is shining, it is a very warm day, it's going to be a very busy circuit. Qualifying is almost good to go here at Brands Hatch for the opening GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup round. David Addison and Joe Osborne trackside, Brands Hatch looking absolutely stunning in the sunshine, and a 30-strong grid ready for qualifying is going to be really, really interesting indeed, because track position here, a clear bit of track space, absolutely crucial. It's going to be hard work getting through the traffic if you qualify badly, so the pressure is on, and we're talking of just 10 minutes here for drivers to set a time, so it is going to be very, very tough indeed. Thousandths of seconds covered cars earlier on in the day, and this lap is the shortest on the calendar, but Joe Osborne, it's a great lap.
Absolutely love every single second of this 3.9 kilometres, Brands Hatch, 9 corners. We're looking at lap times going to be in the 1:21, so that's not a lot of time to spread those 30 cars out there, like you said, and that's going to be the theme and the story of qualifying, is finding space to put in the lap time, because in the race it's hard to overtake, so qualifying very, very imperative.
Now 10 minutes, the fast lane is open, the cars making their way in a moment then to pit exit. You want clear track space, that's for sure. How many laps realistically can we do in 10 minutes?
Well, you've got your out lap, which is going to be sub 2 minutes, so you've got 8 minutes remaining. You're going to be looking at 4 to 5 flyers, which is about the life of this Pirelli before it drops off pace-wise. So everyone is going to be as fast as they can, but trying to compromise maybe one lap in the middle to create 2 sessions within that 8 minutes you're going to have on track.
Now, Romain Andriolo went off the road in the Mustang earlier on. He's with Bryn Lucas in the pits.
Roman, first of all, it's great to see you here. All well, that's the most important thing. But can you tell us what happened there? When we were looking outside, it looked pretty brutal.
Well, not easy track first, but yeah, this morning I was following someone and then I missed the braking point in T1. And on the T1, the track is going down as big. And then I'm going outside on the rubber. And when you go outside, then you go on the grass easy as everyone, but I'm going earlier. And then I just follow to go on the wall, but the main point is I'm okay, so I'm very happy about that. Even the car is not yet ready.
Yes, the car looking there, it's clearly not ready for qualifying. The team working very hard on it though. Will it be ready for tomorrow? And what do you do setup-wise for tomorrow? Yeah,
I'm disappointed because the car is not ready now, but the team give everything to trying, but it's better to be safe to tomorrow than trying to go and add another crash or something like that. Then tomorrow we know that the car will be ready and we will be at 100% to come back on the fight with the other car.
The car will be ready and so will you. Thank you, Romain.
Exactly. Thank you.
Romain Andriolo then is new to GT racing this year. He's come from Formula 4 and then Formula Regional, so a real change. And talk about being thrown into the deep end, a circuit like this. We talked in pre-qualifying about all the undulation change that there is here. It's not the widest of circuits anymore either. It has not shrunk in terms of its width, but racing cars have got wider, so there's not much you can do about widening a track. Cars have just got bigger, road cars as much as race cars.
Yeah, 9 metre circuit width here, and Paul Ricard last time out for GT World Challenge we were 15 metres wide, so it is a huge difference. And you're right, when I first started racing here 2008 in British GT4, it felt wider, yeah. And the cars were probably 5 to 10 centimetres narrow, which made overtaking easier, but also just the general space out there. And the lap times have plummeted as well. We almost seem to find half a second a year in lap time, and that's been relentless in the last decade plus, really, now. So we're seeing these cars looking like they're going to go sub 1:20 in the not too distant future, which for nearly 4 kilometres of rolling Kent countryside shows you how quick these cars really are. Drivers just starting to get in the cars now, final checks being made, radios, drinks plugged in, belts done up extra tight. It's always nice to give it an extra little tug on those shoulder belts to make sure you're fully secure before you're about to give it a banzai quali lap.
No wheels on many of the cars. Is that because they're still in the ovens being made warm?
Yeah, green flag. It feels like a lot of the teams have been slightly caught out here would be my description of that. So the circuit is green. We could have been out 25 seconds ago, but no cars taking the exit, which I think maybe the teams have not kept an eye on a timetable, which always shifts here at Brands Hatch. It is so tight, but at the moment we've lost 40 seconds of the session. We're soon to be 10% of the way through this session, and not a single car has either left or seems to have any tyres on the car. That is an oddity, to say the least.
And the green lights are flashing, so the teams know the session is live. It's almost as though they're waiting for another team to blink and then they'll all go. But finally, Stella sends out its Corvette then coming down the pit road. So it's a very different looking Corvette from one of the classic road-going Corvettes that our cameras picked up earlier on in the day, mid-engine car. But with the session live, we've already had over a minute, and only now does a car accelerate out on track. You know what's going to happen? They're all going to go out in the last few minutes and moan about traffic.
Yeah, really surprised. We are on timetable. We just triple checked that. So the teams are all doing the same strategy, all 29 remaining cars, less that Mustang. And so far, we're about to have our second car remaining. This is going to be chaotic traffic-wise in the last 2 minutes.
So I go back to my earlier question. How many laps? It's almost as though they're just the teams, in a sense, going for one push.
Yeah, I am absolutely gobsmacked by this strategy. As a driver, I would want at least 3 flying laps to be able to do the job I want. Yes, the tyre's always best on its first fly if all the prep's been done, but this is putting a huge amount of pressure on all of these drivers in Q1 to get the job done. And also with everyone leaving later, like you've said, it's going to really ramp up the crescendo of traffic towards the end of this session. There's going to be 15 unhappy drivers with traffic is my prediction. Half the grid are going to be compromised.
And now the cars are going out, but there are still some yet to have wheels, almost as though the teams are waiting to see what a target time is. They'll all have a strategy, of course. Whether it's the right strategy, we'll know in 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the risk goes up if there's a red flag with anything less than 3 minutes remaining of a session. The race director can call it and finish the session there and then. So we're getting into uncharted territory for people calling the bluff. This is a big high-stake all-in from the majority of the team. I love it. I don't get it. I've got to admit, this is beyond my realms of strategy and what I would want as a driver, but let's see how it pans out. If the early cars do well or the later cars are waiting for track temp to drop, the track's in a good place right now. I can't see it improving or evolving to a point where this is a benefit to strategy.
The regulation, though, for this year is only one set of tyres for the 10-minute qualifying session. It's one set per driver, so you don't want to waste them. You don't want to maybe go too early, but equally, you do want to be able to have more than one opportunity to set a lap time.
Yeah, exactly. And this is our first car on its first flyer, so we are only going to see purple sectors on this first part of the lap for Lesmond in the Chevy. Looking good so far, struggled a bit in pre-qualifying, but the Stella Motorsport team obviously getting on top of this Chevy. First time we've seen it in GT World Challenge, so that car is only going to get faster. Are they going to get compromised by that McLaren, which is clearly on an outlap of Adam Smalley? Smalley going to get out the way, or will he want to stay in front of that Chevy? He decides the former. Very fair there of Smalley, but on the dirty part of the track, he will be compromising his own first flyer, which is about to start shortly.
So Mathis Lismond then in the Stella Motorsport Chevrolet comes up towards the timing line. The former motocrosser, a class winner of the Zolder 24 Hours, is going to set the target time, and it's a 1:25.333. So that's the first offering. Marcus Siebert drives 52 Ferrari, and he might well be able to go even faster. This is the car that he shares with Jeff Machiels. You've got Arthur Leclerc, Charles Leclerc's brother, out on track as well in Ferrari number 50. Ferrari topped the pre-qualifying session thanks to Vincent Abril, and it was Lucas Auer's Mercedes that topped the times in free practice this morning. Marcus Siebert goes fastest, 1:24.6, but really we need a time in the low 1:23s to replicate free practice to be good. Lucas Auer did a 23.1 this morning. That really has to be the target, if not better.
Yeah, it's got to be a low 22, I think, for pole. Pole position, fastest ever here, 2022. Raffaele Marciello in a Mercedes, 21.3. So that's our lap record to aim. We're not going to get there. It's too warm today. But we've got to be in a low 22, if not a high 21, as Arthur Rouget takes provisional pole on a 24.5. And look, we've only got 4 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. So these guys are more than halfway through their session. They've got to get moving.
One thing we haven't touched on, we'd better get it out of the way, is if you go wide at Paddock or Graham Hill Bend, which are the two key points for track limits, you lose that lap time. It's all very well thinking, I'll just go for one shot, but if you then run wide and negate that lap, you've still got to use the tyres to get back around again. So you've got to be inch perfect here. Yeah,
you're really in qualifying. You've got to use every inch to get the performance. So if you step out of line and you're called, then that's done. Like you said, that's a whole lap gone. That's a whole 80 seconds of your session gone and redundant because you've lost the whole lap. You don't just get a penalty, as we see Leclerc on a purple, Ron and Siebert in another Ferrari. It was Purple 2 that's just got stolen. Who did they get stolen by? The timing screens are lighting up. It was Hartog in the Porsche taking Purple 2, but then Rouget takes it back in that McLaren. He's coming into the last corner. At the moment, he's provisional pole, but I think this lap is going to be good enough to get into the 123s at least and keep that pole position for a bit longer.
Let's see. Here he comes then, Arthur Rouget up towards the line in the CSA Racing McLaren, and he does a 24.098. It's not good enough to keep him top because look, Hartog was briefly quicker, but that lap then puts him back. Hartog was 0.316 of a second slower, just a little bit later coming up on the timing display. So it does confirm Rouget from Hartog from Siebert. Now, fastest is Leclerc, Arthur Leclerc, who's not raced here before, goes quickest, and he's into the 23s, a 23.848. But there's still more to come. And guess what? How much time remaining? 3 minutes. Ben Green coming up to the line. Another quick Ferrari then. Let's see what he can do. Personal best, absolute best. The Emil Frey Racing car, only 5th for Ben Green. 6th for Ben Green.
We've still got 8 cars that haven't done a lap time yet. It's being left so late. The timing screens that everyone can look at on the GT World Challenge website under the live timing section is giving us all the information. Leclerc is pole, Sven Muller up to second now. It is really hard to call. We've got purple sectors all the way down. Ben Green's got another purple sector on that last lap, so the car is quick. Who's for pole at the moment is anyone's game.
Up to 4th has gone Adam Smalley. Times are changing as every car crosses the line. That's the one that's second fastest. Sven Muller by 0.128 of a second. We haven't yet got a lap time out of Lucas Auer, but we're about to, I think, as now Luca Engschler has gone 5th. Sven Muller down in the first sector, though, as he comes towards Hawthorns. So 29 cars we're going to have, not the full 30. You've heard about the Mustang not taking part in the session. An absolute best posted by Rouget. Auer goes 4th. Lucas Auer on his first proper flying lap goes 4th fastest. Leclerc, Muller, Rouget, Auer, Kirchhofer, Hartog. That changes because Alessio Rivera goes onto pole position, a 1:23.559 in Ferrari number 51. He's never raced here before, but he's gone quickest.
Yeah, it's a Ferrari 1-2-3 at the moment, isn't it? Rivera from Leclerc from Vermeulen. As we look at Ben Green, can he get his Ferrari somewhere near those prancing horses that dominate the top 3 at the moment? It's going to be a quick one. Where's it put him? P3, 1-2-3-4 for Ferrari.
Interesting, isn't it? So Rivera, Leclerc, Green, Vermeulen, then it's Porsche, and then BMW. We've not really touched on Charles Witt. So here comes Hugo Cook, and he goes up to 14th with an absolute best in the middle in the Barwell Lamborghini. 97 seconds and counting as the cars come up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Alessio Rivera by 0.244 of a second is fastest in number 51 Ferrari. Number 50 is Arthur Leclerc, and he has gone slower in the first sector, and he's got traffic up the road. So I think Leclerc may have to settle for the outside of the front row of the grid. But is there anybody a long way down that really ought to be further up? Engschler is only 17th. Maxime Martin is only 18th. They're probably the 2 big surprises as through the dust cloud goes Leclerc, but Rivera, 2 absolute bests. Here he comes into Clark Curve, number 51 Ferrari, Alessio Rivera. Absolute best sector 1, absolute best sector 2. Lucas Auer goes across the line ahead of him. We wait for the Ferrari to come through. Alessio Rivera then goes by. Auer goes second, and Rivera does a 23.328, a new pole position time.
Half a second clear of P2 from Lucas Auer, the car who's actually following on track. That is a phenomenal lap to be that clear. Vermeulen now betters that. He's back up to P2, 0.4 of a second behind. Smalley in P6 now, tumbling down the order a bit. Not a great sector 2 either. Ben Green still hovering around 4th position. Charles Virch, as you said, down in 7th. Sven Muller now all the way down to 8th position after a strong start to the session. I also think Marvin Kirchhofer won't be happy down in 11th place either in the Garage 59 McLaren.
So here they come for the remainder of the session, which is about 5 seconds away. The checkered flag. Vermeulen up to second, then 0.413 of a second back in the Red Bull liveried car. And the flag is out. Checkered flag shown. Session at an end. Well, 10 minutes flew by. That was dramatic stuff, yeah?
Yeah, Vermeulen is actually on a lap here. You can see on the timing screen 300ths down in sector 1. So this lap still has a chance of being good. Looks like he's clear of traffic as well in front. One more corner to do in sector 2. How's it looking?
And up to second briefly had gone Luca Engschler. Marvin Kirchhofer has now gone second. Vermeulen has done an absolute best in the middle sector. So at the moment, the Ferrari that was second at the start of the lap is down to 4th. Can it get back onto the front row of the grid? We're about to find out, because out of Clark Curve, Thierry Vermeulen will come. The checkered flag awaits. He doesn't bail for the pits because the tyres can at least finish this lap and possibly improve his grid position. He's down to 5th. He crosses the line and goes quickest. Thierry Vermeulen on a pole position, then a 1:23.374. Vermeulen fastest by 0.185 of a second.
Yeah, and Rivera lost that fast lap to track limits. That's why that gap changed so dramatically. That lap that was half a second quicker than anyone when he posted it was deleted for track limits at T1. We said track limits was going to be a hot spot, and that's what's lost Rivera his pole position.
He keeps second fastest in the times, does Rivera provisionally, getting the last few cars up to take the flag, but 10 minutes of drama, and Thierry Vermeulen then puts the Ferrari onto pole position. That gives you 4 Ferraris in the top 7. There's only one other Ferrari in the entry.
Yeah, it's been a strong track for them all day so far, as we see the Emerald Ferrari team celebrating that. But yeah, Rivera lost that pole position for track limits. We said it was going to be a problem, and it's going to be a theme for the rest of the weekend here. Good job by Kirchhoffer. I said he wasn't happy with an 11th place, so he proved me wrong by going 3rd. Luca Ensler as well in the Lamborghini for the first time this year. Good job. But yeah, when you look down the order, I think there'll be a few drivers happy. Hugo Cook, I think, as well, did a good job there. But I think BMW are maybe on the back foot here. Charles Wirtz, race winner last time out, highest BMW P10.
So Thierry Vermeulen the fastest by 0.185 of a second. And not only that, but also pole position in gold. Alessio Rivera takes pole position in pro, and the fastest silver. How about this? We didn't actually see the car, but Laurens Lequerture, fastest in silver, recovering after going off the road at the start of the day. Yeah. So good effort done by him. Let's have a look at the order then. At the end of a breathless 10 minutes, Thierry Vermeulen the fastest by 0.185 of a second from Alessio Rivera. Marvin Kirchhoff a 3rd from Luca Engschler, then Arthur Leclerc and Lucas Auer 6th, Ben Green 7th. Impressive stuff by Hugo Cook, 8th ahead of Adam Smalley, and Charles Weir round out the top 10. Sven Muller only 11th ahead of Arthur Rougier, then Laurens Lequerture topping silver, Jim Pla 14th, and Ezequiel Perez Companc in 15th. 29 cars seen in the session. Mathis Lismont in the end in the Chevrolet Corvette, the slowest of them, this new car for this year for SRO Motorsport. So that's going to be an interesting grid for sure. And we know that Thierry Vermeulen is very quick. Chris Lullen will take over that car. And of course, he's very new to GT3 racing, raced Real World Radicals last year, but it's esports in which he's made his real name.
Yeah, that's going to be a rude awakening halfway through race 1 for him, right in the thick of the mix of a big battle. But yep, sim racing gives you a good eye into motorsport, and if he can keep a calm head, which he's got to do now, just getting some feedback now from Vermeulen talking about what he needs to get doing. Looks like he's saying he needs to get some energy in this car, get the tyres up to temperature, rear the car maybe. Driver's very good at communicating with hand signals because you can't really hear much when you're talking. The helmet of the driver talking muffled. You've got earpieces molded to your ears, so it stops all of that. So hence the very theoretical hand gestures that racing drivers love to do. And yeah, pressure on now. The good thing is he knows the car can be on pole position. He'll have the delta time in there of a 1:23.374, so he'll be chasing that. Bit less fuel in the car, so he has the potential to go a bit quicker too. But yeah, a huge amount of information being thrown at him now. I think if I was Lullen, I'd like to get in the car right now and just get a bit of peace and quiet.
Class points as well for pole position. And number 30 being looked at for speeding in the pit lane, WRT BMW. Quick look at the highlights of that. Well, the first minute, not very much happened at all as the teams waited and waited and waited. And then eventually somebody blinked. It was SRO Motorsport that sent out Mathis Lismont in the new Corvette. And gradually the circuit got busier and a pattern started to emerge. But almost as every car crossed the line, the order shuffled. Ben Green was quick initially, number 14, Emile Frey Ferrari. We also had number 50 in the hands of Arthur Leclerc up at the top at one point. Luca Engschler was rapid in the Lamborghini number 63, but in the end, it was going to be a Ferrari top for Emile Frey Racing. McLaren of Adam Smalley was good. Way out wide went number 30 BMW. That was the Gustav Bergström car, but he bounced his way back onto the circuit. Let everybody go on his dirty tyres. So, come the end of the session then, it was Alessio Rivera looking as though pole position was his. He improved his lap time, but then lost the lap for track limit offences, and through it came Thierry Vermeulen in the Emile Frey Racing Ferrari pole position for race 1. Alessio Rivera, second fastest, but he could have been on pole, but for track limits. Let's hear from Alessio Rivera. Bryn Lucas is down in the pit lane. He has found Alessio Rivera, who can reflect on nearly but not quite.
Well, that's a huge disappointment as you got out of the car there. Track limits came back to bite you, but it was a very, very promising and strong session.
Yeah, I have to say it's a shame because you know, starting P1 here is something else. It's half of the race. So when you start P2, you're outside. The P3 is there, so it's never the top. But I mean, the car felt really good. There is not so much grip on the track also compared to this morning. I was a bit surprised about the lap time. I was expecting 22. But yeah, as I said, a bit disappointed because it's so difficult to get right T1 and it's downhill, you don't see really well. So I think it was some millimeters off.
Millimeters is all it takes. Look, seconds not bad, well done.
Thank you, thank you.
And it puts that car on the front row of the grid. But it does, again, illustrate you cannot afford to be even millimetres wide, because if that takes away your best lap and you end up in the middle of the pack instead, then your weekend's spoiled.
Yeah, and what you're saying, starting on the outside at turn 1, and the problem actually is turn 2 is the outside as well. Two right-handers starting the lap, so the outside is a huge detriment here at Brands Hatch because of that. You are sometimes afforded a bit of the room to run into, but the track is so dirty offline, and you can see why. Look at the dust he's about to drive through, but also kick up himself. So he will be on the dirty part of the track come tomorrow, race 1 start.
Now, are we going to see the same pattern, or will the teams think differently going into Q2? By which I mean, are they going to sit and wait for the first minute or so, or scramble the cars out a bit earlier?
I mean, I don't want to die on my paddock hill here, but the fastest times were being done at the end of the session. So
one or two laps after the green, I will try to follow some car decent. I think the two McLaren on the side are okay, at least one. That's Gachet in the car, I think is a decent target. Otherwise, I will update you.
So the engineer talking to Nabal there about what he could do at the start of this session, talking about the CSA McLarens maybe as a target if they go first as a target there. But yeah, going back to my point, I think because everyone started so late, the session was still quite premature, and that's why we're seeing the fastest lap done after the checkered flag. So I would bring your start point forward a minute or two, which felt strange at the start of the session, and I think was illustrated by the end of the session.
Q2 is about to get underway then here at Brands Hatch. This will be the race 2 grid decided on these times. It's only 10 minutes once again. And the drivers, fresh drivers of course, the other driver to the car in now, strapped in, ready to go. Wheels, tyres not yet on because the tyres are in the ovens. The tyre warmers, part of the regulations for this, so you leave them in there to the last second, and then as soon as they go on the cars, they've got as much temperature as possible.
Yeah, it makes a big difference starting off with warm tyres, not having to really do any tyre prep, to be honest. The cars all have a live TPMS system, tyre pressure monitoring system, so you can see the pressure and the temperature. So as soon as they go on the car, you know if they're in the window. They'll be aiming to get them anything from 80 to 90 degrees Celsius on the car, and then they're in their window. And it's your job on the outlap, really, to keep those tyres clean, stay on the racing line, get the brakes up to temperature, which they already will be for Q2, and just get the exit out the last corner clearways here, so you fire across the start line as quickly as possible with a decent gap where you're not going to get impeded on any of your flyers.
So the green flag should be waved within the minute, and we can get cars out on track. WRT at the pit out end. I think AF Corse are up at the top at pit in, and somewhere in the middle is, or closer to pit out in fairness, is Winwood, last year's champion team. Mauro Engel just making sure that the mirror is absolutely as he wants it.
Yeah, annoyingly for him, the mechanic's pushing out and it pings back, almost comically back to its original position. And then he's just, how many years bad luck is that?
So the mirror now has to be sorted, but not great news this for Mauro Engel, because whatever he thought he was wanting to see, he can't at all now.
Yeah, on reflection, I think that mechanic pushed it too hard.
You're really proud of that, aren't you? Right. If I were you, chap, I'd go and get a different task within the team. Mirror adjustment's not your forte. Right, so Mauro Engel thinks, well, that was a waste of time. He's now going to have to rely on what he can see out the side of the car. The green flag shown, and exactly like in Q1, the interest level to get out first is limited. So talk amongst yourselves. The car controllers are there. They'll all have a plan. They will all have a plan, and it kind of worked out last time. Now, interestingly, from Q1, the pole position car from Q1 is under investigation for a pit speed infringement. So the story may not yet have ended in terms of Thierry Vermeulen. and therefore whether we hear from him as a Rover pole position winner at the end of the session depends on how rapidly the stewards need to investigate things. But number 69's pit speed has been noted at the end of Q1.
Yeah, and what will the officials do? Will that be a fine for the team, or will that be a deletion of fastest lap? Both are possible penalties there. So, yeah, this is, I appreciate I don't want to go on about the same point here, but the team's not going. I think they're just doing safety in numbers. They don't want to be the first out and get impeded by cars on outlaps. So they're all having to stick to it. But if you were to say to a racing driver, your qualifier is 10 minutes, the first reaction would be like, that's not a lot of time. Yeah. And they're all sitting in the pit lane within that 10-minute window. So, yeah, I'm really surprised. I think maybe if we go back to Rivera's point of the track not being as fast as they thought it was going to be, the sun has been beating down, track temperature's the highest it's been all day, 33 degrees now. So I think they're maybe just thinking we don't have as many laps in these tyres as we maybe think, and the track's going to be faster at the end, and that's what they're going with. But yeah, I mean, if you'd gone out bang on 10 minutes, you would have already been out there for 1 minute and 50. You'd be halfway round on your first flyer, and you would have had the clearest track possible because you would have been the only car circulating. So, interesting strategy from all teams.
Should the Emil Frey story about Q1 and pit speed rumble on, it would be a fine, we understand, rather than a penalty. But the stewards will look at that and see whether there is a case to answer, first of all. Right, tyres going on. Track getting busier, and again the Corvette's the first one out now with Jesse Salmonalpio at the wheel, Jeff Machiel's Ferrari, Christian Bogle's Lamborghini, James Kell's McLaren all on track.
Yeah, and cars now flooding on. You can see how quickly the teams are able to put the wheels on the car. Buzzing round with a single wheel gun, just putting them all on. In the race, they've got to change all four. You've got one tyre gun and one tyre loader, so 2 people in total, and they do it in 17 seconds, which I think is phenomenal considering they're running around the whole car. Formula One, yes, they do it in 2.5 seconds, but they have an army of people, whereas here 2 guys can get that done in 17 seconds is hugely impressive.
And it's 2 because of the regulations. It's not that they're impecunious. So they're number 69, fastest in Q1. With all due respect to Chris Lullum, it would be a big ask to get him to replicate what Thierry Vermeulen has done. This is Christian Bogle for Barwell, new to the circuit. So the American driver coming up towards the timing line, and as the traffic goes out from the pits, he's onto a flying lap. And we're already at 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go.
Yeah, and he's going to be stumbling across cars on outlap, so that's the last thing you want to see as Lullum is looking for a space to get released. You can see he's on the floor, so the mechanic will want to release that car as quickly as possible. He now gets on his way. Still 4 or 5 cars, even on pit exit, waiting to go. So, yeah, cars flooding out. And we see the Tempo Audi, the 88 car, getting released onto track also.
So 6 minutes just over on the clock as 97 of Isham Piris comes up towards the timing line. This is the Silver Cup Retronic Racing Porsche, shared with Luc Hartog. And 52 now has Jeff Machiels at the wheel of it. So the Ferrari, again out of the AF Corsa stable, down towards Clearways. Clearways, that link that brings you from the Grand Prix circuit to the Indy circuit, then Clark Curve, the right-hander, up towards the timing line. And again, we're looking at low 23s. Still yet to go, Maro Engel's Winward Racing Mercedes. That car still being held, no wheels on it, and we're almost at the halfway point. Puts the pressure on Maro, who knows his way around Brands Hatch, I'll grant you. He's a triple winner here, but in a GT car, never mind anything else. But Maro Engel now, tyres go on, and the Mercedes will drop down and he'll blast away, but he's going to be slightly behind the curve, isn't he? Because everybody else will be on a qualifying lap as he starts an outlap.
Yeah, the positive is that he will know the target time, so he'll know exactly what he needs to aim and beat. But yeah, high risk. Again, any red flags now. Sandy Mitchell purple in Sector 1. That's a decent Sector 1 as well, comparing it to Q1. So this will be a good lap for the Barwell Lamborghini. That
point you make about a target time, I accept that. And yes, driver knows what he's aiming for, but isn't the other side of that coin that they should all be going flat out anyway? So the time is almost academic in terms of what you're aiming at. You just go flat out.
Yeah, racing drivers, simple animals though, and having that carrot in front of you is a good motivation, that's for sure. As we go on board with Sandy Mitchell, actually just want to ride with him, see how much curb he's using. hard on the throttle out there. You can see the traction control light up even in fourth gear through Sterling. Mega banking, keeps it on the track, doesn't lose any traction, running onto the under the final bridge into the last corner. Car kicking up a lot of dust, huge snap of oversteer as he hits that bump, as he rejoins the Indy configuration here. Run to the line, what's the time going to be? 23.3 was pole in Q1, where we're going to see Sandy Mitchell pop up 23.3 as well. That is the fastest lap we've had in any qualifying so far.
So that puts Sandy Mitchell for bar one onto pole position ahead of Thomas Neubauer's Ferrari. Make that Benjamin Goether's McLaren now up to second. So it's Mitchell, Goethe, Neubauer, James Kell fourth. No, it's not. Jamie Day fourth in number 21 Aston Martin. And here coming now down to the right-hand of Clark curve is number 9, Lucas Stoltz at the wheel of the car that he shares with Maxime Martin. So he's heading towards the timing line. Lucas Stoltz, we know, is quick, and that puts him only 8th fastest in the Boots and VDS car.
Yeah, we haven't really mentioned him at all today either, have we, Lucas Stoltz? Been off our radar, and that's quite a telling sign that I don't think the pace is in that car at the moment, so they will keep to dig deep to find that as we follow Louis Pret here, very quick, first time here at Brands Hatch though, so it'll be hard for him. Jordan Pepper is on a lap as well as cars stream across the line. Pepper up to second.
And I was going to say that Chris Lullen was in the top 3. Well, thanks to Jordan Pepper, he's now down to 4th, but Chris Lullen taking over the pole car from race 1, number 69 Ferrari. Doing a very good job thus far, but there are others that are still yet to do a time, like Kelvin van der Linde, like Mauro Engel.
Yeah, exactly, and Louis Pret coming towards the end of his lap. Obviously, he'll be looking overall, but as well, he's in the gold class, so they'll be looking at where they sit there. He's now up to 15th, on board again with Sandy Mitchell as a purple sector 1, a decent sector 2, although not green, still very quick. And he doesn't improve his time, though. Sector 3 was not a good one. Yeah. That was 3/10 slower than his best.
And we've also had track limit warning for Chris Lullen. So is that lap time? Yep, disappears. Sandy Mitchell, meantime, may have got the best out of the tyres now with only 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. So he's still hustling on. Now this is Patrick Niederhauser, good in sector 1, not so good in sector 2. Jordan Pepper, meanwhile, has gone quicker than he had previously in the first sector. Let's get the Porsche across the line. Niederhauser is currently 5th, and as he breaks the beam, Patrick Niederhauser's lap keeps him 5th.
Yeah, just looking at Engel, he's done a very strong sector 1 at the moment, only 4 thousandths behind the fastest out there, and actually he was the car just in front of Sandy Mitchell. As we go to Jordan Pepper, can he find a bit of time at the moment, down in 4th place, just over a 1/10 of a second off at the moment. I say this lap's going to be good enough to put him 2nd potentially, stays 4th, that's sector 3, really about 3 seconds off.
Okay, over the timing line goes the Isham Pires Porsche. Consolapalainen looking good, also coming through Kelvin van der Linde, who is currently 5th, just improved. Lapalainen, 12th for Emil Frey, goes through. Mauro Engel is about to head up towards the timing line with a personal best and an absolute best. Here it comes then, the yellow Mercedes breaks the beam. Mauro Engel goes quickest. Mauro Engel onto the top of the times. He's into the low 23s, a 1:23.240 for Mauro Engel. 78 thousandths quicker than number 78. There's some voodoo at work there. But Mauro Engel then ahead of Sandy Mitchell. It puts the Mercedes AMG quickest, except Jordan Pepper wants to say something about this. He's done an absolute best in the first sector.
Yeah, remember Pepper's last lap was looking very quick until the sector 3, which must have been traffic because it was 3 seconds slower. To me, it looked like Engel had already backed off on his second flyer. Got dust coming up in the face of Pepper as well now coming through sector 2. How does it look? It's still strong. It's going to be very close. It's going to be a 10th one way or the other. Can you see where you're going? No, but you keep your foot flat and you hope for the best. One more corner to go for Pepper over this bump. See the car bottom out. He's going to push all the way to the line. Is it going to put him on the front row?
He's got to try and beat a 23.2 to get pole position. Here he comes up towards the line. Then Jordan Pepper's 6th when he comes across the line, and 2nd now. So he's on the front row. He gets ahead of Sandy Mitchell by 43 thousandths of a second. Quick check to make sure that his race number doesn't come up with a track limit penalty. No, it does not. So the lap is good, but it's Mauro Engel by 35 thousandths of a second, and the top 22 covered by less than a second.
It's so tight round here. Engel, I think, will finish the lap, but that car was set up for one flyer, and that's why they left with less than half the session, 5 minutes remaining, because that's all the car needed.
Checkered flag. Mauro Engel by 35 thousandths from Jordan Pepper. Pepper slower in sector 1, and it looks as though Mauro Engel, he took the flag, he's done. So Sandy Mitchell has taken the flag as well. I think we've probably had those that could shuffle the top two rows of the grid take the flag. Although Kelvin van der Linde is still out there in BMW number 32, a winning car around here last year. Chris Lulham, good in sector 1, down in sector 2 in the car that's on pole position provisionally for race 1. Thierry Vermeulen did the first session. Chris Lulham here really is being thrown in at the deep end to international GT3 racing. He was dominant in radicals in the UK last year, but that's a whole different kettle of cod. Over the line he goes.
Wow.
And that lap is second fastest, 1:23.267. He's only 27,000 shy of Maro Engel.
That is incredible. For the amount of laps he's done, those tyres are dropped off. That is the lap of the session. I was about to say, where have Ferrari gone? They were dominating Q1, and then suddenly Lulham pops up from 6th all the way up to 2nd, and 200s is such a fine margin. That will be 20 centimetres over a 3.9 kilometre lap. That's incredible. Lapalainen finishes up in P7. What a session. This is going to be a phenomenal race come tomorrow. Both race 1 and 2, the gaps are so tight, it's going to lead to naturally hard and fast racing.
If you look down the times from 3rd, you've got factory drivers, you've got champions, you've got race winners, you've got a quality cast, and they've all been duffed up by Chris Lulham, who, with the best will in the world, is a real rookie into real world racing in some respects, never mind just GT3.
Yeah, the level of sim racers now is second to none. The hours and the hard work they put in does have a direct correlation to real world, and that's proving there. You could see the Winwood mechanics very, very happy with their job, and it only took one lap for this man, Maro Engel, to claim pole position and the Rover Motor Oil Award.
So yeah, the Rover Pole Position Award tomorrow, Engel for Q2 and Thierry Vermeulen for Q1. You're right, the Winwood mechanics look delighted. I bet they're relieved as well, because 27 thousandths of a second is, as you say, almost infinitesimal. So that's all that Maro Engel squeaked pole position by. Well done, Maro Engel. But well done, Chris Lulham. And that Emil Frey Ferrari now looks a very, very strong, dark, prancing horse for tomorrow, doesn't it?
It really, really does. And now suddenly that mirror that snapped and broke in the mechanic's hand seems not so much of an issue. Maybe a good luck charm.
Well, maybe it made it 27 thousandths of a second lighter. That's the weight.
Check the weight of the car.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, quite. Well, Maro Engel, as I said early on, has been around here many a time, not just in GT cars, but go back to when he raced in British Formula 3. He still sounds the most Australian of Germans. That's his co-driver, the Austrian driver Lucas Auer, Gerhard Berger's nephew. And Lucas Auer did a decent job in his session. That car is still very much there or thereabouts. You rule them out of race 1 at your peril. But fascinating session, not only in terms of the times, not only in terms of the order, but in terms of how the teams played it.
Yeah, it almost seemed to be no correlation between who was fast in Q1 to who was fast in Q2. The only real outlier to my statement there is the Lulham car, obviously pole position and second in that session.
Yeah.
So they've had aggregate the best qualifying out of everyone, but
exactly
incredible and a lot to read into ahead of tomorrow.
And 2 class pole positions then for number 69 Ferrari. Anyway, let's hear from our pole position drivers, the Rover Pole Position Awards, and Bryn Lucas is down there.
Well, Maro, you pulled that one out, didn't you? That was fantastic. First of all, congratulations. The Rover Pole Award goes to you. 3 thousandths of a second up.
Yeah, big job from the team. Big thank you. They've given us a good car from the first moment today, and yeah, obviously mega to start on pole. It's important here in Brands and get our sprint championship off in the best possible way.
We've been told it's 2 laps is all you get there. Where did that lap come from? It was an absolute flyer.
Yeah, it was definitely the first flying lap for me, and we know here it can be very peaky in qualifying, and I nailed that one, so happy to get it.
Congratulations.
That's the 6th year in a row that we've had a Mercedes on pole position for a Brands Hatch Sprint Cup round. So Maro Engel, a very happy man indeed. And although they were good in qualifying, of course, at Paul Ricard, race pace over 6 hours wasn't as good as they hoped. Totally different ball game for a 1 hour flat-out sprint here.
Yeah, and what we've seen there, the car fast over 1 lap, kind of really hits home that statement of maybe it's not the fastest car over a stint, so the race might tell a different story. And yeah, he has the Rover Award there. It goes quite well with their main sponsor, doesn't it? Man Filter, actually. So a good synergy there. And there's his teammate looking happy, but I don't think he'll be ecstatic with his own performance in Q1. And that's the problem with GT racing. It's a team sport.
Not sure he needs his jacket in this temperature either. Let's hear from Thierry Vermeulen, our other pole position winner.
Congratulations to you there, Thierry. The Rover Pole Award goes to you. And another flying lap, an amazing lap, 2 tenths up though. And there was some concern maybe about pit lane infringement.
Yeah, mega lap. I mean, the award should not just go to me. The team did a mega job, so big thanks to them. And yeah, just perfect qualifying, so big thanks for that.
Perfect in every single way, but for those around you, it's going to be a tight battle tomorrow out there, particularly with the weather we're looking at tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but the first part is done, so we'll have a good meeting tonight, and then hopefully a good race tomorrow.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
So very happy Thierry Vermeulen, and as Joe's made the point, a pole and a second overall and 2 class poles, then a very, very consistent car. The pace of that being replicated by both drivers, that's really encouraging for tomorrow. It was tempting early on to suggest this was a Ferrari track, but Mercedes AMG prevails once again, so it really is all bets off for tomorrow.
Yeah, and Lamborghini looking strong as well, especially in Q2 with Pepper and Mitchell. They're both pretty fiery drivers, so I'm excited to watch them in race 2 tomorrow.
Mauro Engel then takes pole position for race 2 provisionally from Chris Lallam. Mighty, mighty effort that by Chris, ahead of Jordan Pepper, then Sandy Mitchell, Thomas Neubauer. And the top 6 rounded out by Benjamin Goethe. Constant Apolainen 7th from Kelvin van der Linde, then Patrick Niederhauser. And the top 10 completed by Vincent Abril. It is the Mauro Engel time that's good enough for pole overall, of course. In gold, Chris Lallam's efforts net another point after Thierry Vermeulen did it in Q1. And Cesar Gauzot is the fastest in silver for Boots and VDS. So in terms of Mercedes AMG, although they haven't perhaps got the strength in numbers anymore, they have just got 2 pole positions out of 1 session, overall and in silver. So there is still much for them to fight for and success potential tomorrow. Really interesting session, that is for sure, and that sets us up nicely for tomorrow. Also, of course, we hope to see the Mustang back on track. Missed qualifying after Romain Andriolo's demise in pre-qualifying, but the Mustang, no doubt, from the HRT squad will be back ready for tomorrow. So Winwood Racing then takes pole position for race 2, and as the drivers make their way back to the teams, they'll be having a look at data. We look forward to the 2 one-hour races tomorrow. The first will be at round about 10:30 local time, and just about 3:30 for the second. So it's a tough day for the teams, both races on the same day, of course, but 2 really good races to kick off the Sprint Cup season here at Brands Hatch tomorrow to kick off the season. Let's have a look at the highlights then of Q2. Again, the teams waiting a minute and a little bit before they started to send the cars out on track, and the times tumbling. About halfway through the 10 minutes was really the first time we saw Mauro Engel's Mercedes head onto the circuit, and he did just enough to bang that car onto pole position by the narrowest of margins. The Ferraris still look quick up and down the order, so too did Porsche, with a good effort by Patrick Niederhauser on for 9th fastest, and a 78 Lamborghini from the Barwell squad of Sandy Mitchell ended up 4th. 3rd was Jordan Pepper's Lamborghini, but a really impressive last lap by Chris Lallam put his Ferrari onto the outside of the front row and pole in gold. But it was Mauro Engel's Winwood Racing man-built Mercedes that was fastest for Q2, and that sets us up really nicely for Sprint Cup action here at Brands Hatch tomorrow.